Broadcasting from Baltimore, Maryland, this is 5x3 Radio, where strength is for everyone. I'm your host, Emily Sokolinski, owner of 5x3 Training, a strength and conditioning gym in Baltimore, along with my co-host, Rebecca Fishburne, founder of Cornerstone Strength Maryland. Each week, Rebecca and I will discuss the ins and outs of strength training, why there is a no one-size-fits-all approach, and why strength is so important in our daily lives. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Now, on with the show.
Okay.
All right. Whenever you want to start.
Yeah. Whenever I want to start.
We'll go 3, 2.
That's not going to help. Okay. Just got to sidle up to this. Here we go.
Like a Band-Aid. Rip it off.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to 5x3 Radio. This is your co-host, Rebecca. And I'm here today with a very special guest. Our guest today is Emily Sokolinski. And we're going to be talking to Emily today about her somewhat recent total right hip replacement using an anterior approach. So this was approximately 12 weeks ago, right. April 13th, be about 12 weeks from the time this episode airs.
Definitely.
At this point, we're like 11 weeks out from the surgery. So just here to find out a little bit more about what was going on with Emily's hip and what she did to address that situation. So Emily, why don't you tell us all what was going on with your hip? What sort of symptoms were you experiencing? What was causing the issue for you?
So, and I'm going to have an article. I'm writing my article that I'm going to, all publish too.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Just like I did for my left knee surgery when I had that in 2019. I just took the article and I just copied and pasted and substituted the knee for the hip. The hip for the knee.
I'm sure there's a couple things that are different.
It was already written. The article's already written. So I'll have that out too. But my hips, actually, my right hip especially, has been bothering me for almost 11 years. So I went to see somebody at age 41. So way back in what is that, 2014, something like that, let's say. I was, I turned 40 in 2014. So 2014, 2015, I saw my dad's doctor way back then because I was having issues with my hip, and obviously lifelong dancer, right? So I knew that, things were changing over the years, but the hip had been giving me more and more trouble. So I went to see him, was told I had arthritis and that it was, quote, normal for a woman my age, which I still, am bitter about that statement there. And he said to me, I'll see you in 10 years for a hip replacement. And I kind of shrugged it off and laughed it off because I thought it's just arthritis. Like, okay, fine, arthritis for a woman my age, that's going to be typical. And then the past 3 years, so that was about, 2015 or so, 2016. So fast forward about 10 years later, past couple years, the hip has been bothering me more and more. And I couldn't tell if it was coming from my back or from my actual hip, right? Because I have had back problems over the years, even though the back issues have been have gotten so much better because of my training. But the hip has often been a problem. And I was definitely noticing I was losing a lot more range of motion in my hips. Past year, I was unable to squat below parallel. So that was definitely the big tell. I was having a lot of issues squatting. I would record myself squatting and could definitely see that I was not squatting to depth. And it was becoming harder and harder to squat to depth. I tried physical therapy. I tried my own therapy. I went to see a guy who does active release technique, and he was like, I don't know if it's your hip or if it's your back or both. So I definitely tried a number of things over the past couple of years to kind of keep that hip moving, thinking it was maybe just a flexibility issue. And then this past October, I wanted to take ballet again. They're offering an adult ballet class near my house. I was going to take ballet class. I took the first class and I was crippled after class. And it was one of those wait a minute.
I don't mean to laugh about that.
No, I know. But it was just it was a beginning ballet class. And and I was in so much pain, and I pushed through it. And I thought,
Like while you were in the
while I was
class
in the
or
class, yeah, while I was taking
uh-huh.
class, every
Yeah.
tendu, every rond de jambe, it was just like, especially on the right hip. I could stand on the right leg, but moving the right leg was
Mhm.
just so painful. And that was October. And I thought, oh God, I guess I need to really stretch more. I guess it's been 6 years since I've done any kind of ballet. So, wow, I really need to start doing this again. And then we went away on a vacation to Portugal and to Morocco. And when we were in Morocco, our last night, we were in Casablanca, we had to cut our walk short. I was in so much agony and so much pain. I could not walk. I mean, I physically could not walk. And Diego was starting to notice that I would trail behind him when we would go for walks, uh,
I'm sure he was very understanding about that.
He was actually. He liked the fact that he didn't have to, run to catch up with me because usually I'm 5 feet ahead of him. Now I'm 10 feet behind him. So he was concerned. And it wasn't until he saw me actually, we did a workout in the like hotel gym in Casablanca. And I was, doing some goblet squats and he looked over at me, he goes, "Is that as far down as you can go?" And I was like, "Yes." And I've been I'm telling him, I can't, my hips are really bothering me. And it was kind of like
And this was just this
this past
past year.
October. And
Yeah,
it was that
okay.
shock of, oh, wow, like I physically could not squat lower
Yeah.
than a specific height. Like I just physically couldn't do it. It was getting
Yeah,
harder and
because
harder to
like
do. Yeah.
we've been doing like this by Zoom for a while and we've gotten together here and there over the past couple of years. But like when we were in Texas together,
Yes.
that was the first time I was like, oh, she's not joking around. Because towards the end of a day, some days you were like coming home in the airport, like you were limping.
Mm-hmm.
I have not seen that.
And that was
I
two
have
weeks.
not
That
seen
was
that.
2 weeks before the surgery. That was 2 weeks
Yeah.
before the surgery. So it was quite evident in when we were away that there was something going on. And then I kind
So that seems like it happened, like it went from painful but tolerable
to
to intolerable,
yeah.
incapacitating in like a year, less than a
And when
year.
I talked to John Patrizio, so I spoke to John, who was an SSE and a PT, he and
Mhm.
his wife
Yeah.
Rory, right? Have what is it? The name of their business,
Rory's got
Progressive
progressive
Rehab. Yeah, so
rehab
John
and
works for
strength.
her. So I consulted with John prior to the surgery. So I'm kind of I know I'm jumping ahead, but he said that it takes something like you doing something completely different to kind of all of a sudden realize that something's really wrong. And it was the ballet. It was taking
Mm.
ballet that just really started the kind of the ball rolling. It was that feeling of like, that's something I haven't done in a while. All of a sudden, my hips are trash. And it was after that, our trip, and then more ballet. I was taking a couple more ballet classes, and then Nutcracker rolled around, and I was having difficulty kind of standing on that right leg. There was one night where I was waiting to go on stage and we were like 15 minutes before opening and I had my fist balled up and I'm beating my hip with my fist
Ow.
because it was in so much pain and it was giving out of me. And I'm thinking, I've got to go on stage and be on stage for 20 minutes, walking around the stage and dancing, and I can't stand on my right leg right now. Um, and that was kind of the realization. That was December. So we're talking October, November, December. Something's going on with my hip. I better go see somebody now because it's getting to a point where even my chiropractor ART guy was like, "I think it's your hip and I think you need to see somebody." So it was when he said, "Your hips are your hips and I don't think there's nothing I can do to help you anymore."
Hmm.
That's when I was like, okay, the next step is to see an orthopedic specialist.
Yeah.
And I went to see somebody at the beginning of January. I got an appointment pretty quickly, and they did an X-ray, and it was like, you've got osteoarthritis, and it's in both your hips, and it's worse in your right. So it was this realization of I went from arthritis to osteoarthritis in the span of 10 years. Come to find out, my father, who has both his hips replaced and had his one done in his mid 60s and the second one done when he was 70, was told by his doctor at age 40 he had arthritis and he would need a hip replacement in 10 years.
Yeah.
And when 10 years came
Yeah,
for
yeah,
him,
because
he
when you
decided
had
to,
mentioned you just went right to your dad's hip doctor,
yeah,
right? So there's a genetic
it's
component to
totally
this.
genetic. It's
That's-
osteoarthritis is, I mean, and it's people say, oh, is it from your dancing? I'm saying, I'm assuming, I'm sure the dancing, added to that. I'm not denying that, but it's also genetic. My father wasn't a dancer. My dad's bow-legged. So that could have been definitely the issue with him. My grandfather had both his hips, his natural hips. So it wasn't coming from him or my grandmother, as far as I know, but for whatever reason, my father had it, and he has it in both his shoulders too. So it wasn't surprising to me that I was having issues with my hips because I have a lot of my father, you know,
Mm-hmm.
in me. Um, so the surgeon basically looked at the X-rays and said, yes. He said it's your hips, it's osteoarthritis. You could do injections, you could do drugs, but honestly, a hip replacement is going to be the way to go. It was kind of like right there. It was just one of those like you could try this and try that, but
Mm-hmm.
a hip replacement is really the ultimate fix. And with your age and your health, and the fact that I have a lot of strength already, he said, you would do great. You would do great. And when I heard that, when I heard hip replacement, you would do great, it was one of those, I'm going to see a surgeon. I mean, I didn't have to think twice about it. It was more of just like, something's going on with this hip. It's been bad. It's only going to get worse. It's getting worse, not better. And by the end of the month, January, I made an appointment with the surgeon and we set a date. And I actually
Yeah,
picked
and
it
it
up.
also, I mean, like they're presenting you with some alternatives, but
Right.
the change in your ability to do things comfortably reduced pretty dramatically in the
Yes.
span of 3 months.
Yes.
So it probably seemed like, okay, I can, dick around with some
Yeah.
injections or some
Yeah.
other stuff, but eventually this is what I'm going to need. May as well just not deal with that in between purgatory.
Yeah, he put me on meloxicam for the pain, and the meloxicam wasn't doing much. So I went and I said, I need something stronger. So then I was on Celebrex, but then the Celebrex did something and kind of messed with my stomach in a way that I didn't like. So I actually took myself off of the Celebrex and I just kind of dealt with the dealt with the pain and and popped ibuprofen a lot. Um,
I think that's when we were in Texas.
Yes. Yeah. So February, so I met with the surgeon the end of January, set the date. And then I think probably end of February, beginning of March, I called and said, can I push that date up? Like, what's the earliest you can give me? Because I had scheduled for the end of May. I wanted to get through Texas. I wanted to get through Jack's graduation, my nephew's graduation in May. I pushed it up and I said, what's the earliest I can get in? And they scheduled me for April because it was becoming quite apparent that the pain was getting worse, which was mind boggling that it went from like not so bad to I'm walking around with a cane now. I needed a cane by the week before my surgery. I literally had a cane in the gym. I could not walk without
Wait,
it. I was driving
that's
to the gym.
surprising.
It's a 4-minute walk from my house. I could not walk to the gym from my house. So I was driving like the 2 weeks before the surgery. You saw me in Texas.
Yeah.
Walking through that airport was like the most awful thing, to walk through security. I don't know what it would come and go, right? Some days it would be, sometimes it would be just fine. And then I'd get up and I couldn't walk. And I was dragging my leg around. So I don't understand how my father could do that he did it for about 10 years, longer than that, 15
That is a
years.
long
He
time.
dragged
Yeah.
his leg around for 15 years. He was like, I'm not having the surgery. And I'm thought to myself, if he had had that surgery in his 50s, he would have done great. It would have been, but he didn't. And I don't know if it was just he was afraid of the surgery or if it was, at the time, they could do hip replacements. Obviously now they do them like I scheduled my hip replacement surgery like I was scheduling a hair appointment. It was like, well, when do you want to come in? Well, we have this available. How's 11 o'clock? Sure, I'll take 11 o'clock. I mean, they're so kind of cut and dry now. It's like, yeah, hip replacement. Everybody's getting them these days. It is pretty amazing that, you can do it in an hour and a half, 2 hours, and they give you a new hip and you're walking, that day. So I thought there's no reason to wait. There wasn't a reason to wait.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I moved it up because it was pretty bad before the surgery rolled around.
So your doctor was saying, "Oh, you'll do great." Some of that due to your age, some of that due to, just your general fitness
Yes,
level. Were
yeah.
there specific characteristics that they identified that were helpful beforehand or things that they um look for in a patient to be able to make that sort of determination? I mean, I would assume that the level of strength training that you were doing beforehand was an asset.
Absolutely. 100%. You mean like, when they told me that I needed it, was it more like, you need this because your hip is that bad that we?
No, no, I mean the prognosis that they gave you, like that you would do well
Oh,
with the surgery,
I
that
think it
you
was
would
my age.
recover easily.
I think my age
Okay.
and my physical fitness. Because he could, I mean, because they do a very limited like testing with you, of your strength.
Hmm.
And I think it was pretty evident to the at least to the orthopedic specialist that I would have no problem with this. And that my
Yeah.
surgeon didn't seem to I'd have an issue either. It was more like very cut and dry. Like, yep, this is what we're going to do. And the approach that I had, so there, you mentioned it's an anterior approach. From what I understand, they do an anterior, lateral, or posterior approach. The anterior approach is the one that's most of the time it's done. That's the one that's
Most
done
common.
usually, yes. And definitely done for people who are very active already, so that they can get back to their activity level fairly quickly. Because with the anterior approach, you have fewer restrictions. I could bend forward. I could sit down. I couldn't cross my legs. I wasn't allowed to cross my legs. I wasn't allowed to take a step behind me, like with a really like do a big lunge. But everything
Hmm.
else was fair game. I could hinge forward. I could squat down. I could do whatever I wanted to. I was taking the
So, I mean,
stairs.
do you, I don't know, you might not know this. Were there reasons why they would do the other types of surgeries then if they're harder to?
Possibly, maybe people for somebody who isn't as active, maybe it's just maybe it was an easier approach, or maybe it's the doctor's choice of how they do it. Mine does anterior approach. The posterior approach, I think it would just be kind of the doctor's choice.
Yeah, okay.
But I think they also decide that, given the person, given maybe the age of the person, or that definitely the activity level, it seems the anterior approach has much fewer restrictions than posterior. So when they go from behind. So I'm obviously glad that I had the
Yeah.
anterior approach, because I was able to get back to um, my lifestyle pretty quickly, because it gets you. I mean, the good thing is you are weight bearing from day one, unlike with my knee surgery when I was non-weight bearing for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Knee replacements are far uh, uh, harder to obviously rehab and get back to your life, that rather than hip, right? With knees, there's a lot more PT that goes along with this. I had no physical therapy referral for this. Um, some people get physical therapy. My surgeon decided I didn't need it, maybe because of my
So
activity
I'm sure
level.
some of that is like based on what you were
Yeah,
doing
I think so.
regularly and what the surgeon knew you were going to be
Yes,
doing regularly, both before and after. And you also consulted with John.
Patrizio. Yeah, I made a point. I made a point of talking to him before the surgery, just to kind of
Mhm.
get an idea of like what should I ask the surgeon, because I had one
Yeah.
more consultation with him before the surgery. So John gave me some good questions to ask going into it.
Well, like what were the questions?
Oh God. Maybe it was like, what was it? I think it was before, yeah, before we had the final meet, it was more like, what type of hip replacement is it going to be? Was it going to be a full hip replacement, or was it going to be, there's something called, I think it's a reconstruct, shoot, revisionist hip replacement, where they don't quite do a full hip replacement.
Mhm.
And that sometimes it seems to be a little bit easier for people to get, and also to if they have any issues with hip replacement, go back into to clean up. But I was having a total hip replacement, so that was one of the questions he wanted to know, and then some of the restrictions. It wasn't like there weren't a lot of questions to ask him,
Mhm.
but it gave him a better idea as to how to guide me
And so
after the surgery.
what kind of guidance did John give you before the surgery and after the surgery? Because I think the thing that we should make clear is, like you said, you didn't do any physical therapy.
No,
Like, you're not necessarily recommending that any casual viewer doesn't do or
no,
avoids physical therapy. You
no.
had some guidance from a physical therapist, and between the physical therapist and your surgeon, they felt confident that what you do on a regular basis was going to be sufficient. So, like, if somebody who happens to be a couch potato
Yes,
listens to this and decides that, oh, I don't have to do physical therapy,
yes.
that might not be the appropriate
No, I'd
choice
hope
for
that
that
anybody who's
individual.
listening to this,
You had some good
yeah, and
guidance.
hopefully anybody listening to this is not account, or maybe they are, but they're thinking about getting into lifting. Um, your people always think about the rehab side of after surgery, right? What am I going to do to get back to my life after surgery? I thought more about the prehab, right? When I went into the surgery, when I was talking to John, um, when I learned that I was going to have the hip replacement, nothing changed with my training. Nothing changed with my training. I kept the same training schedule, 4-day split, even biking, even though my knee would turn out when I biked, which is crazy to see, like, your leg like not turn in at all, turn out. I could
No, you
stand,
see that all the time in a spin
I could
class.
stand on the spin bike. I could stay on the spin bike. So I kept my entire training schedule the same. The hip was not great. So I wasn't going to do any more damage to it.
Hmm.
It was what it was. What I did, of course, with any type of injury, or or we have to make any modifications for somebody because something's bothering them, I made modifications. So I was squatting to a box, fairly high box. I found a good place where I could squat to, where I had no pain. When I tried to squat lower, definitely had pain. So I kind of found that nice place where I could
Your
squat
happy
to.
spot.
Definitely lower than 18 inches, probably around 15, 16 inches is where I was able to squat to. So clearly above parallel. But I squatted 200 the 2 weeks before my surgery. I mean,
Right.
and Diego's like, that was just an ego squat. I said, absolutely an ego squat. It was an ego squat because I thought, if I could squat 200 with a bad hip before surgery, what will I be able to do when I get back to squatting? When I can actually squat again
You
below
did that
parallel.
just to lay down a dare for your post-surgery
It
self.
was totally that. It was totally that. But I did 185 the week before. So,
Uh-huh.
I benched. I was more stubborn with the bench than I really should have been. But because I did keep my feet on the floor the whole time. And that position in the bench stressed my hips more than squatting and deadlifting did. So I would always kind of pay for it a little bit afterwards. Um, but I was still benching. I was pressing. I was basically strict pressing. I couldn't, because my hip movement was really bothering me. And I was deadlifting, but the deadlift was kind of at a standstill. I could not go up and weight. So I actually had to go down and weight. So I was noticing that even though I could deadlift, I had to be moderate with my weight. But there was no change in my training, because I thought the better I can go into the surgery with a normal routine, continuing to train, I'm only going to come out on the other side better. And I watched 2 videos of 2 hip replacements. Um,
Yeah, so just as a
yeah,
caveat for the squeamish listener,
yeah.
I don't think that's recommended.
It doesn't
Like,
matter. I mean,
I don't
you're
like,
someone who
I would not ever want to
you're
watch
talking to somebody
the
who
surgery
can
before
watch
I
an
had it.
autopsy. Like, I'm watching a crime show while eating dinner. Like, that doesn't
Yeah.
bother me, right? I can do that. So the second video I
So
watched,
know thyself.
you know yourself. The second video I watched was a surgeon in the surgery room, and there was a reporter in there. So he was watching them the entire time. So he interviewed him during the surgery the entire time, and it was wild to see, like, him like take this hammer and like beat the implant as it was, in the person's hip. And you see the leg dislocate, and then you see the leg kind of get, put back to in again. They manhandle your leg. I mean, obviously, they clearly manhandle your leg when you're with the surgery. But the surgeon
Yes, one of
interviewed,
my friends who is
yeah.
a primary care describes it as medieval.
Oh, it's totally
It's
medieval. I
yeah.
mean, it's hammers and metal objects and
Bone shards
shards
flying
everywhere.
through the
I mean, yeah, they
air,
got
big,
face shields
like,
on. It's
yeah,
everything.
goggles, whatever.
The surgeon afterwards was interviewed. They sat down and talked, and the interviewer asked him, who does the best after a hip replacement, right? And as I think you were asking, like someone short, someone tall, someone fat, someone thin, someone, athletic, someone, who has the best outcome? And the surgeon said, the person with the best attitude.
Ah,
That was it. And the person with the best attitude has the best outcome. It's going into it, knowing, yeah, you can be nervous. I was nervous. Diego was more nervous than I was, but go into it knowing that you're going to come out on the other side. And if you have been active, if you have been doing right by yourself, if you've been living your life, if that, you're going to come out better. And there's going to be, there's going to be some discomfort. I was not expecting to be completely pain-free. I was pain-free from the actual hip, right? What I was experiencing before, but other things popped up. My knee swelled up. It was bruised. There was
yeah.
there's weakness in my hip, of course, but as somebody who has gone through that, as someone who has been training on a regular basis for 16 plus years, who is a dancer, who's experienced discomfort and pain, I could separate the two. I could separate the I'm out of pain from because I have a new hip, but I can accept the discomfort that comes with having the surgery. And I think that's kind of hard for some people to accept, right? They want to be out of pain completely. There is no completely out of pain. There's going to be
Like
some discomfort.
initially you swap like
Of
bone or
course.
joint pain
Yeah,
for
it's,
muscle, bruising,
all that,
swelling.
all that.
Like when you're talking about the weakness, that's like a little bit of nerve related issue. Did you have anything else nerve related?
No, no, but
Like,
it's definitely interesting to see the tone. People talk about tone. We all have tone, muscle tone. The tone completely go away from my right leg. And it wasn't because I wasn't working it. I was walking,
right.
I was taking the stairs,
Mhm.
but the nervous system I was unable to contract that muscle. I was unable to
Right.
actually bring that tone back because, yeah, they had manhandled and cut my,
Yeah.
cut muscles in my leg. I mean, again, the posterior approach is worse because they cut your glute muscle. They don't want to necessarily cut your glute muscle, and this is why the anterior approach is best. They want to do as little cutting as possible, little manhandling as possible. Um, but I definitely felt, there are sensations that go down into my shin and my calf still. I definitely I'm still numb in the incision a little bit. It's warm there. It's going to be like that for about a year. But the instant I got up after surgery and they had me walking with the walker, my foot went from turned out to turned in. It went back to a natural gait
Yeah.
immediately. And I was
Well,
under,
it's structural,
I'm
right?
in it.
Totally
I'm still like,
structural.
I'm groggy from the anesthesia, and I'm talking to the nurse, going, "Oh my God, my foot turns in again." I can hear me on the camera. Like that was what I noticed immediately was just
Uh-huh.
the fact that all of a sudden my hip was working again, like it was working in the natural way that it normally works, which was not what I was used to seeing.
Not
Not
duck-footed.
duck-footed, or dragging my my leg. Um,
Was that like Igor?
Right, right.
Yeah.
So the prehab, I remember getting an email. I got an email a couple weeks before the surgery telling me I needed to schedule my 1 day prehab appointment. And I thought, I remember laughing about that because 1 day of prehab's really not enough. My prehab started years ago to
Hmm.
prepare me for this.
So when you came out of the surgery though, you said initially you had to use a walker. Did
Right.
you have to use that for a longer period of
I had the
time?
walker on the 13th, which was a Monday. I used it
Hmm.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
I was already kind of I was already getting in my way by Wednesday. I
Yeah.
was not really using it. I was kind of picking it up.
Yeah.
And I didn't use it going up the stairs. Up the stairs, I used my cane to go up the
Yeah.
stairs.
So, because I think, it's not like 1 day of prehab, just like you're saying, like it sounds like it's foolish or it's
Yeah.
useless because the strength training that you did ahead of time is what got you into a situation where you had like more strength going in, you could recover better, so on and so forth. But there's like some, like I'm gonna say, mechanical aspect
Yes.
or equipment aspects that get covered in a prehab appointment, like how to use the walker, how long to use it, how to use the cane. Like we have people come into the physical therapy office all the time that it's like they're not sure if they're supposed to use the cane in the same side or the opposite side, or so there's some things like that that get covered in prehab appointments that maybe come naturally for some people, not so much for other
Right.
people.
I
And also just like setting
think the
expectation.
prehab was going to be like how to get into a car, how to get out of
Yeah,
a car, how to take a
yeah,
step,
yeah,
how to get in
yeah.
the shower. I felt personally I didn't need to worry about scheduling that because I was
Hmm.
squatting 200. Like if I can put a bar on my back and squat down even to a 16-inch box and stand back up, I was going to be okay,
Hmm.
to get into a car. Um, and they also obviously test you, like the occupational therapist comes in too after you you're out of anesthesia, and they get you up and they get you to the bathroom and they watch you take the stairs and they teach you how to get into a car and get out of the car. And I had kind of practiced that in the little area where I was. And within an hour, they let me go. So at 12 o'clock, I was walking with the walker. By 1 o'clock, I was, waiting for Diego to pull up so I can get into the car.
Hmm.
Um, so again, I think that if you are already moving well and you have that strength, that is going to get you further. You'll know how to manipulate the stairs. You'll know your body. You'll know how to take those stairs properly. They send you videos too ahead of time to show you what foot to use, how to get into the shower. So, and I watched all those. So in a sense, I kind
Yeah,
of watched all
yeah.
those videos. I did watch the videos. I wanted to kind of get an idea, and I thought that makes sense. That's common sense. We have a shower that we can walk into. We don't have it wasn't a tub, so I don't have to worry about that. Definitely there was like kind of go in with the non-surgery leg, come out with the surgery leg, go up, take the stairs with the non-surgery leg going first, go down the stairs with the surgery leg kind of thing. So you go down with I went down with the right, up with the left. Now I take the stairs, left leg, right leg, it doesn't matter. Um,
Mhm.
but I think I can't stress enough the importance, obviously, of what we do, the strength training, because definitely with my knee surgery, I felt confident to go back to the gym the next day to teach, to coach, and to train. I was not under anesthesia anymore. I wasn't on any pain medication. With the hip, that was definitely different. I was home for a week. I went in to visit the gym on Friday, and then Diego drove me in on Saturday so I could go just visit. And then I went back to work on Monday, and I worked half a day for about 2 weeks. I work either the
Gotcha.
morning or the evening, and I'd sit and ice, and because I could sit at home and ice my hip, or I could sit at the gym and ice my hip. And luckily, my job, is coaching. I'm not teaching classes. I'm not demonstrating, so I don't have to worry about, walking around the gym and demonstrating. It was just more of consulting with people. So my surgeon told me I couldn't go back to work for like 6 weeks, but I went back the next week after my surgery because, I know what my job is.
So when they give a 6 week restriction afterwards, is that like you're saying you have to put ice on like a certain amount of time? Like what is
You
it
got to
that
ice.
they're
Yeah, you're icing as much as you can. You're icing it.
and
I was
so
icing it
are
like
they
almost
saying
every
like
hour.
why would a person not be able to go back to work if they had a desk job?
I think it's just you're very tired. That was
Okay.
the biggest thing. I did not experience that with the knee surgery, but with the hip surgery, I was exhausted. You get tired
Hmm.
very quickly. When I went in that Wednesday, just for the morning, I did a little bit too much that one day because I felt like I could. I paid for it later, not because I was sore, but I was utterly exhausted. Like felt like when you were sick, like when you're sick and you just want to go to bed. That's what I
Gotcha,
felt
yeah.
like. So my energy level for like a good 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks was really low. I couldn't eat. Like even eating was hard. Like I would eat, but it was like a chore to eat because I just didn't have the energy. It was also the anesthesia was kind of coming out, yeah, coming off of that. Um, that was really usually the first week. My appetite kind of came back after about a week, 2 weeks or so, but I really wasn't hungry. I wasn't really that hungry. It was, took a lot of energy to do a lot. And that's what John told me. John said the biggest thing you'll notice is that your energy level is very low. So that's why going back to work too soon is just physically, just
Just
mentally, it's
another
exhausting.
stress on the
Yeah.
body. something else
Yeah.
that's going to tax your
But
recovery
I think
resources.
that's, again, I think that really is going to be very individual. And I asked when I spoke to one of the patient navigators, I said, the doctor said I couldn't go back for like, so many weeks. I said, but here's my job. And she goes, as long as you feel up to it, you can go in. And I did. You're not supposed to, I was told not to drive until 6 weeks, but after about 2.5 weeks, when I saw the PA after my surgery, I spoke to her, told her what I was doing, and I said, my gym is like, a minute from my house driving. Can I drive to the gym? She's like, are you on your pain medication? Narcotics? No. Okay. So I was able to drive to the gym. And about 2 weeks after that, just driving to the gym and back, I felt more confident. I think they don't want you driving because they don't want you to all of a sudden get into an accident and something really forceful hits you, and all of a sudden
Oh,
your
yeah.
hip is, compromised. But I had no issues. Like I had no problem with that, with my right leg, using the gas, using the brake, nothing. It was just more so once I passed that 2 week mark, I was good to go. And I was driving in Colorado. We went to Jack's graduation
Wait, driving to
in
Colorado
Colorado.
or
We flew into
okay.
Denver, had to drive to Longmont. So I drove, right? I drove. I had no issues flying. Was wearing compression socks. I wore compression socks for 4 weeks, discovered how much I love them, bought more compression socks. And I will wear them at the gym now, still to this day. Like I'll put them on if I feel like I'm going to be on my legs for a long time.
Like,
And it
do you
makes a
have the
big
ones that go
difference.
up to your knee, up to your
Up
ankle?
to my
How high are
knee. Up to my knee.
they?
Yeah. They're lovely.
With cool patterns or what?
Yeah, yeah. I have like black ones, white ones, and then pink ones with like polka dots. So they're cute.
Yeah,
They're cute. I know it's kind of warm to wear compression socks, but
I think so.
they
It's
make
like
a big
100
difference.
degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my rehab after surgery has been the same thing that I
Oh,
did
hold on,
prior to
Emily.
surgery.
Hold on. I'm asking the
Sorry.
question. Emily, could you tell us about your rehab then?
Why, yes. So as I said, I had no referral to PT. My doctor said no physical therapy, but I knew that I wanted to at least meet with somebody in person because I had John online, and John said, start training when when you can. And I did the next week. He kind of gave me some guidelines on what to do, what not to do, but basically start a very, a novice linear progression, which I did, using a box for my squats, strict press for my pressing, feet elevated from my bench, and then starting with like elevated deadlifts, like rack pulls, rack
Right.
pulls. So I started literally with that, just like we do with anybody who's injured or coming off of it.
Yeah.
Right? Range of motion. I shortened the range of motion and then been slowly working down. But I did want to meet with somebody in person, so I met with a PT who was actually a member of my gym a few years ago. And Dan has a physical therapy business here. He is a PT kind of orthopedic specialist too, so he has that
Oh,
side as well. So, and John said, go see somebody who has an OCS or, because they've worked with people, coming off of hip replacements, knee replacements. So I went to see him. He kind of consulted with him. He watched me move, said I was doing great, gave me a couple exercises that I could do, to kind of complement what I was doing, but gave me the kind of go ahead to start squatting with a bar, which I was thrilled with.
yeah.
So that was 3 weeks after my surgery. I was allowed to start using weight. So I did. So after that, I was a little hesitant to kind of add weight if wasn't sure if that was a go ahead or not, but he said absolutely. So that was like May 7th when I saw him. So the next day or 2 days later, I got in the gym, grabbed a 33-pound bar, started using that, and I squatted 125 today to the box. So now I'm below parallel. So after 11 weeks, so I'm 11 weeks out. I'm squatting below parallel now to the box. I did pause squats on Friday and squatted below parallel for the first time. So
Nice.
almost like over a year.
So where are you then in terms of the modifications that you made to your
So
other?
now I'm squatting to below parallel, still using a box on one day, doing pause squats on another day. below parallel. I'm still strict pressing. John recommended that no hip movement until maybe week 16. I've demonstrated the hip movement, with really lightweight.
Yeah, but you also do like serious layback.
But yeah, so I'm not, I haven't felt any issues with my hip. Slowly working my way down to the floor with my legs to the bench. So I was at 8 inches with my feet, and now I'm down to about maybe not 4 inches, maybe lower than that, 3 inches or so. I'd say 3 or 4 inches. And I've been playing around with my weight. I've lowered the weight for the bar for that as I'm working back down there. Deadlifts are from the floor. I did 150 last week, so I do 155. So getting my deadlift back up, doing a light deadlift day, heavy deadlift day. So I moved from basically doing 5 days a week because I was able to like do all my exercises, back to back to back, because I was doing like, squat, press, and deadlift on one day and benching on the other day. Now I'm back to a 4-day split, because the weights are, getting heavier again. The squat's getting heavy for me, just trying to keep everything very, very even. And training literally as normally as I could, even better, because now I'm below parallel again for the squat and I have no pain.
That's good. Yeah.
And that's the most important thing, is I can actually get down to the bottom of the squat, like my hip moves. Definitely can tell that my left hip is not like my right hip. And
now you're like, oh, I'm gonna go get the
that's
other
going to
one.
be interesting. That my surgeon said I have a couple years left still with the left hip. So we'll see, because I know I can feel like it doesn't feel like the way the right hip felt. Like I can stand on it. My balance is great, but it has a little bit less range.
Yeah, why don't you just go to a ballet class?
Not yet.
No, I
Believe
mean
me, but yes.
to get your left hip pissed
Pissed
off.
off? Right. No, the left hip felt great in ballet. The left hip had no issues in ballet. But now that the right hip is, now that I have movement again in the right hip, the left hip is like, hey, what's up with this? But until I get to a point with the left hip where I'm unable to stand on it, it's like when it's starting to buckle, so certain signs to look out for. But the rehab has been better than my knee rehab, because I've been able to bear weight on that right leg, which I couldn't do on the left leg with the knee. So I'm actually far ahead of where I was with my hip than I was with my knee at this time. I'm not going to say it's perfect. I definitely have discomfort still, even sometimes sitting. I'll feel a little bit down the shin. The hip itself is good, but there's definitely kind of, a residual effect kind of down the leg. It'll be stiff if I sit for a while and I stand up, I'm stiff. Sleeping has been a little bit weird the past couple of nights. I'm not sure what's going on. I think
Did you have to do anything different there?
Well, yeah, I did. I tried some split squats yesterday.
Oh, no, I meant sleeping.
Oh, sleeping?
Like, did they give you like, oh, you have to sleep, you can't sleep on that side?
Can't sleep on the incision. I couldn't sleep on the incision side for a few weeks. That was hard. It was more just like you can't sleep on it because you don't want to, because it hurts. Yeah, because especially if you have the bandage on it. So I had to sleep on my back or on my left side. And it's sleeping's better, but if I push it sometimes too much, I ache. So there's an ache. There's a dull ache, but it's not in the hip. It's in the leg. It's in the shin. It's it's down the leg. Which doesn't surprise me, because a lot of the issues I had after the hip actually were because, again, they manhandled you. So I'm not going to be fully healed until a year from now. I mean, he said, because the bone has to grow around the implant.
Interesting.
So, because there's like, you can see the x-ray. It's so cool to see this like rod like sticking right into your femur. So bone has to grow around that. So the walking you do, and obviously I think the strength training that I'm doing is going to just help. The one thing my surgeon said to me, because I didn't see him after the surgery, I saw him just before. He said, I have 3, points to make with you. He said, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. So the biggest thing is don't fall after your surgery. It's a bad idea to fall.
Sounds like it.
So, but I'm not at risk for falling, and I had my little grippy socks on at home, so I took my time on the stairs, and my balance is actually a lot better on this right leg than it was before. So that's been
Yeah.
a big plus. Yeah. So it's been 11 weeks and I'm glad I had the surgery. I had about one moment 2 days after surgery where I thought to myself, why did I do this? I shouldn't have done this. This was a bad idea. And of course it passed. But
See, that's where you get back to the attitude.
yeah,
The attitude
yeah.
was,
Yeah, you're hobbling around, you can't do anything, you're feeling sorry for yourself, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute. So I'm glad I had the surgery. I now have one hip that's natural, one hip that's not natural. So I'm waiting for my other hip replacement so then I can have that over my father, that I have two hip replacements just like him. And we can continue to battle out who has the most surgery, who's had the most surgeries.
Yeah,
I'm just following in his
That's
footsteps.
a healthy competition.
I'm just following in his footsteps. I had sinus surgery last year. He had sinus surgery when he was 40. I had it when I was 50. He had a replacement when he was in the 60s. I had one in my 50s. We're just, I'm just following in his footsteps. But it's
You're his little mini me.
it's pretty amazing what they can do. And
Yeah.
obviously what they can do now versus what he had done even just 10 years ago, 11 years ago. Mine surgery took about 2 hours, 7:30 to 9:30. I came out of anesthesia probably around 11:30 and they had me up and walking at 12.
That's
And
pretty
then they
quick.
kicked me home.
Quick
Then they kicked me out. They sent me home.
Yeah.
I was home the rest of the day.
Bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get out of here. We've got somebody else who needs the bed.
But the biggest thing, what people can do prior to, what people should be doing, because you never know when something's going to happen. Because I had no idea I was going to get a hip replacement this year, right? That was not anywhere on my radar. Is continue to strength train, continue to train regardless of your weight, regardless of if you have to make modifications. If you have some discomfort, suck it up, take some ibuprofen. I mean, Steve Hill. So I talked to Steve Hill and Emily, his wife, and Steve he was an SSC, still is an SSC. I'm not sure. He's down in Atlanta, right?
Gotcha.
So Emily has had 2 hip replacements. She's 40. She had her second one done this past year, and she just did a biathlon, swim and bike at 5 months after her second hip replacement.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we talked and he said to me, he goes, just take some Percocet and just squat. I'm like, well, I literally can't squat below parallel, Steve. So, I mean, I'm taking ibuprofen, but I can't squat below parallel. So I physically can't do it. He goes, okay, well, that's okay then. But it was that feeling of like, just push through it. You don't want to push through it so that you have pain. Find a place where you can manage your lifting, right? No matter what it is, just try to manage it. And if you need help, obviously reaching out and getting a coach is the best thing to do, someone who can help you. But stepping back and being afraid to train because you're going to make it worse is just really not the case. I mean, the hip is what it is. The knee is what it is. All you can do is manage your lifting and manage your weights. I have 2 clients. One is having a knee replacement in July, and one's having a hip replacement in August. And they are already anticipating coming back and what they'll be able to do and what I'll be able to do with them. And they are training up until that point. My one lifter who's going to have the knee replacement, she's in her early 70s. We are just managing her weights when she comes in, right? What's she pressing today? What's she squatting today? I tell her, this is going to be now just on you. However you can tolerate it, whatever weight you want to lift that day, just needs you lifting. And she's on board. Like she'll be lifting up until the week before.
Yeah.
Because she knows, and she's already got her appointment set up for her PT 2 days after her surgery.
That's important.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, because the thing about that is it's like there's a lot of times people will think, oh, I'll just make the appointment afterwards. They're going to be booked. Like you got to get that stuff set up ahead of time.
And
some surgeries, depending on what it is, it's crucial that you're in there right away.
I'm thrilled. I'm so, and again, proactive. Like she's already looking ahead of like, okay, after surgery, bam, I'm in there. Especially with the knee replacement, they need you moving that thing too, just like with the hip. I had my PT appointment set up 2 days after my knee surgery, and I just had a meniscus, repair. But I went in and they were kind of surprised. I'm like, I need to know what I can do now. I need to know where my range of motion is now so that I can kind of have a good baseline. And I don't want to rest it. And then all of a sudden I don't have any range of motion. I need to know where I am now so I can work towards improving it. So I'm really happy that she's got that mindset of like already looking ahead to like, okay, 2 days later, going to see somebody. And my other client who's going to have the hip replacement, she's in her mid 70s. I think definitely her niece is a member of our gym, and she came as a result of her niece her niece. She said she sees you as like, okay, Emily can do this. If Emily did this, I can do this. I'm like, yes, I'm 20 some years younger than you, but she's been training with me for over a year now, and she's gotten stronger. That's going to help her. That's going to help this 77, 76-year-old woman, feel that much, get back to things that much faster. She may not be able to get back to where, I was, but it'll give her the confidence, knowing that she can do for herself.
You've already paved the way. She knows what to expect.
I think that's what it is. I think, you are the example, right? You set the example. So if people see you,
you're what is it? The test case dummy?
Yeah. I'm my own guinea pig. I'm my guinea pig. Every time something I have to do something for myself, it gives me a chance to obviously prepare myself for when I have to work with somebody else who needs, he needs the support. I have a client who just came back from bunion surgery. She was on bed rest for 2 weeks.
Dang.
And now she's on crutches and she can put weight on the leg, but she can't like stand on it. So we benched with her leg on the floor, just kind of propped up. She did seated presses. She did rows. We're going to do some single leg deadlifts when she comes back. But she was out for about a month and a half. And that's because she had like weeks of bed rest. And the further down the leg you go, the harder it is. I mean, the recovery is a lot harder, right? Ankle surgery, foot surgery. But she's back in and I know just what to do with her because, I've been there and done that myself.
Yeah.
So I'm pleased with the surgery. I thank my doctor when I went to see him, after the 6-week mark. We finish up and he says to me, well, get an x-ray in a year. I go, okay. He says, I won't be here. I went,
where's he going to be?
Okay. I said, can I ask you where you're going to be? Nope. Okay. He goes, you can look me up. I went, okay. Then he gets up. He starts to walk out the door. I'm following behind him. He opens the door. He starts to turn the corner. I'm turning the other way. And so I say to him, thanks for the new hip. He says, that's my job.
So like, is he retiring or he's just mysterious?
I think he's going to another hospital or something. But he can't tell me.
Gotcha.
But it was one of those, I'm like, thanks for the new hip, doc. He's like, you're welcome. And that was it. So he was, I told him very little about, well, then he did ask me, he goes, so are you back to doing what you were doing prior to the surgery? And I went, yeah. And it was kind of one of those nudge, wink, wink, like, okay, got it. He just kept telling me no running, no jumping. I'm like, don't worry. All I do is squat, bench, press, and deadlift. Like, I'm good. Yeah, but it definitely made a big difference. And all that pain that I was having beforehand is gone. And now I'm getting yelled at again to slow down when we're walking.
Oh, good. Things are back to
the
universe is back in balance.
I'm back to, could you just slow down for a second? Could you just wait for me, please? So obviously things are better because my walking has picked up again.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your
You're
story.
welcome.
And I'm sure it is instructive and inspirational for people. Helps to know somebody who's gone through that sort of thing, especially if that's what you're facing in your future too. So
yeah, and I think there's I put myself on I'm on like a one of those Facebook groups, hip replacement groups, and I'm kind of a player, but I'll comment every now and then. And someone asked about lifting, like does anybody out there like go to the gym? So I commented back about what I did, and the person's like, oh, I'm a lifter too. Thank you so much. And I'm going to copy and paste this and take it to the gym with me when I start. I'm really nervous. And I'm thinking to myself, this is the thing. It's like, there was nothing, I was not nervous about getting back into it.
Yeah,
But I
because you're tapped into a community that
exactly.
understands what you're doing and has people who are in the
Yeah,
profession that are giving advice. And I mean, not everybody that is a physical therapist is maybe going to say what John was telling
right.
you. I don't know that, but like for him to understand what you're doing, to understand from his educational background that it is okay to continue. Like it's so helpful to hear that sort of thing from somebody in the white coat.
Yep.
Um, and I know physical therapists that I work with always talk about like the doctor or the surgeon is really the one in the white coat, and they can say something that completely negates
Right.
whatever helpful
Right.
advice they may have given. So like that messaging is really important, and you're tapped into a community that has a strength training community that has physical therapists, that has doctors, that has surgeons. Like, so you have people to ask. And that's not something that everybody has
No,
access to.
no. And I
Like, not
think,
everybody has that
yeah,
luxury.
and a lot of people like on this Facebook page, they'll say something to person, somebody like everybody's different and you need to slow down and you need to take it easy and you're doing too much. And I just want to kind of say to people, don't tell people they're doing too much or they need to take it easy. Like everyone's going to do what they need to do for themselves. And when I was getting ready for the surgery, I read this in my article, like everybody, people are talking about, getting raised toilet seats and getting sock grabbers and doing this. I was consulting with John about, so when I get back to the gym, when can I press?
Well, I
Yelling
think that this
from a,
is what the doctor's talking about when he's saying attitude. You're asking how much can I do? And
Mhm,
it's like other people are asking how
a
little
little.
can I
And that is and then you've got people telling them they need to stop doing this. They need to slow
do?
down. Like you shouldn't be doing this. You should, who are you to tell me what I should or should not be doing? I know myself. I know my background. I know what I can do. I was also not afraid to move my body that
Mhm.
soon, right? I wasn't afraid to take the stairs and put weight on that leg. Nothing was going to happen. It wasn't going to pop out on me, right? I mean, the surgery, that thing is it's in there. And the more muscle and bone and you have, the tighter that the implant's going to be too. So there was nothing about it that made me nervous about, doing it. My central nervous system wouldn't let me. That's what was interesting is like it was my brain more than my body wanting to do it. Like I could do it, but my brain was like, "Are you sure?" We're like, "We don't trust it just yet." Like, and then slowly every day you could see the difference. It was easier and easier and easier. And it's so cool to see that, to see like your brain start to kind of calm down
Yeah.
and allow your body to start to do the activity that it normally can do. There was never a rewind. There was never a setback. I have not had any setbacks. I've only been moving forward. Um, I've gone through something like this before with the knee. I'm, and I think that doctor saying the best attitude was really key for me just to hear that because it definitely did give me the confidence to, try squatting. I was also Diego though, too. When we went to the gym that Saturday, he was like, he pulled an 18-inch box over and said, "All right, let's do some squats." So I had somebody also kind of nudging me to like, let's try this. Let's do this. Let's do a little bit more.
Mhm.
And I got in the gym and I tested. I tested out what I could do. When I saw the PA 2.5 weeks after the surgery, I actually did tell her what I was back to doing. I'm like, well, so I'm squatting to box and I'm doing some presses and I'm deadlifting. And she's like looking at me and she's like, well, you might want to do some presses. You might want to do seated presses. I was thinking to myself, whatever you say, honey. And Diego said, why'd you tell her that? I said, I just wanted to see her reaction. I did not tell my surgeon what I was doing. But it was kind of that reaction of, well, I think you might want to think about what you're doing. I'm thinking to myself, I know exactly what I'm doing because I understand how to take things slowly and how to approach, a rehab setting. Like I know I've done this 1,000 times with people. I've done it with myself and kind of coming back from injuries. You just have to try it, see what happens, and then, go from there. So it's always kind of like a try, recover. If you're recovering well, then I probably could do a little bit more. If I'm recovering well from that, I could probably do a little bit more. Right? It's like a trial. It's just trial and error. Um, if you're too nervous about it, it's going to be harder for you to get back to it. So having someone to encourage you too makes a difference. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I
So
think we've covered pretty much all the territory.
I'm going to have a video. I've got a video that's going to come out of my rehab, because there's nothing online for anybody who does strength training to kind of see, like, someone going through a rehab process who has a background in lifting or in strength training. There's nothing out there, nothing. So I put together a video that kind of shows it. I have an article that I've written too, so I'll have that published, because more people will probably need to see this. I mean, the last time I did this with the meniscus root repair, I got a lot of people reaching out to me because there was nothing out there about meniscus root repairs and getting back to training. Right? So it's you need to see kind of some positive videos out there that are more than just quarter squats to a chair, or heel raises. That there's more that you can do if you already are in that mindset. Yeah. So look for that coming out soon on the probably I'm going to send it to the Starting Strength the website. Yeah, but the video too. So that's it. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Thank you. And summer's a little bit crazy, so I know that we'll probably have another podcast coming out soon.
At some point.
Yeah. So, but don't expect it to be too soon, because summer's busy. But you and I will get together and get together with another topic to discuss and see where we can go from there. Yeah.
And as always, if you want to reach Emily, you can reach her at
Emily@5by3.com.
Or you can reach me at cornerstonestrengthmaryland@gmail.com.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Rebecca.
See you next time.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to 5x3 Radio with Emily and Rebecca. If you like our show and want to know more about 5x3 training, please visit us at www.5, that's FIVE, the letter X, the number 3.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. To learn more about Rebecca, please visit her website, cornerstonestrengthmaryland.com. Thanks for listening and have a great week.